Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL. Joined with me this evening is Pixie as we head into match number 2 of the evening. It's going to be AHQ and Blank.
And, well, the win that Hong Kong Attitude picked up has kind of simplified this one in a way. The winner of this makes playoffs. It's really that simple. Depending on how it is won, if AHQ win it with enough of a margin, they make playoffs and get the third place seed, bumping Hong Kong Attitude into 4th. But the only way Blank make playoffs here is with a win. Nothing less will do.
You can better believe that neither team slept comfortably last night, as so much rides on this one particular match. So much determines the future of both of these teams. Before we head in, going to get a couple words from the coaches on both sides.
Today is the last game before the playoffs, and what do you think about this match?
This is going to be a very important match going up against AHQ today. We're feeling very confident coming off our matches against AHQ and Ardian this weekend, so looking to put on a very impressive performance.
OK， 好，他说的是说，今天的这场比赛真的是非常非常的重要。在这个礼拜呢，历经了跟闪电狼还有 ART 的比赛之后，他们对这场比赛是非常非常的有信心。Niter 怎么说？
我觉得有信心，其实大家都一定。但是我觉得，因为其实我是一个很不铁齿的人，但是因为我从以前我都认为是人定胜天。但是我今天还是要讲一句话，就是阿吉，不要再讲话了啊！我在看你啊，记得阿吉，两边都不要奶，好不好？让我们好好打一个比赛。
Not a lot to say here, but you know what I want to be able to see is a really good competition, no matter what the result is.
Well, look, for both of these teams, it would be pretty heartbreaking to not make it for various reasons. Of course, for Blank, if they don't make it in, it would be the second place team, then not even making top 4 in Season 2. For AHQ, it would be the team that was first out of the playoffs, who is looking really, really good against some of these top teams. They've beaten Flash Wolves, they had a decent showing against Ardiant, and it would be not being able to actually turn that around fully. If they get that third place seed, they could even make finals based off the fact that they have actually beaten Flash Wolves, which none of those other teams aside from Ardiant have done, right? And then you've got to look at their record against Ardian not long before that, earlier this weekend. That was actually quite a close one despite the 3-0 scoreline. So you'd even say if they don't make it in right here, right now, then that's a team that could have potentially won the grand finals, not even making it into playoffs. That's how much this has come down to a game of inches.
The thing is, either of these teams could have the potential to get into that grand final to even win OPC Season 2. For AHQ, we've talked about the fact that they came close against Ardian. They actually beat Flash Wolves. Like Esports, they came even closer against Ardian. This is now the best team literally moves on, and the team that deserves to move on will be moving forward.
And that's what it really comes down to, doesn't it? Because you can talk about those other things and the fact that AHQ did beat Flash Wolves, but ultimately, whoever wins tonight has to be the team that deserved it that little bit more. So, of course, with that, let's take a look at these two teams. Before we know who deserves it more, let's just remind ourselves of who they are. And, of course, on the AHQ side of things here, this is that same roster from Season 1 with the addition now of Rapid. He, of course, being a bit of a name change up there. So, same guy, different name. And they've looked fairly solid. They had a bit of a rocky start to the season. But then more recently, they've totally started to pick it back up, right? Taking that win against Flash Wolves, picking up the win just yesterday against Hong Kong Attitude, whom they have lost 2-3 times in a row prior to that. The only spanner in that works had been the loss to Mega, but in spite of that, they are still able to make playoffs and would look good coming into this. Of course, on the other side of that, you do have Blank.
For Blank Esports, they just came off a defeat from Ardian last night. However, the second team in OPC Season 2 to actually take a map win against Ardian. Now looking for that revenge against AHQ as well. Looking to take down the team that they took down in OPC Season 1 playoffs and continue their own run now to Season 2 playoffs.
And in a sense, that's maybe the most major piece of baggage that these teams carry into this. The last time these teams met, when it really counted the most, was in the semi-final of Season 1, where, like you said just then, Blank took out the win. And really, it was a one-sided win, all things considered. AHQ had some good showings here and there, but it felt like Blank's series to lose, and that's across the 2 out of 3 potential days that were played of that semi-final. And AHQ, they need to not let that get to them, right? That needs to not be on your mind here. You need to just look at this matchup as it is, feel confident in your own play and your own performances recently. Blank, in a sense, are the team with something more to prove, given that they cannot afford to lose. If they lose, they don't get in, full stop.
That's true for both teams, unfortunately, and the thing about Blank now moving forward is the second time, potentially, that Blank can gatekeep AHQ. Flash Wolves historically has always gatekept both of those teams, but AHQ have a better record against Flash Wolves in general. When you look at Blank, though, it was Season 1 playoffs that they beat AHQ and stopped AHQ's progression forward to meeting Flash Wolves into the final, and now in this very matchup again, they may stop AHQ from even moving forward to then maybe face Flash Wolves again.
And that's the thing, if you're AHQ, you don't want that to happen to you twice, right? Flash Wolves are kind of your long-time rivals, not just in Overwatch, but between the two organizations as a whole. And they were kind of robbed of their opportunity to come up against Flash Wolves. Look, this time around, if they make playoffs and they still don't end up facing Flash Wolves for whatever reason, maybe it's because they win their semi, but Flash Wolves doesn't, or like who knows what it could be, right? There could be this position where they don't actually get to play Flash Wolves, but at least in that situation you had a shot, and if you don't, it'll be because you either weren't good enough against a different team, or Flash Wolves weren't good enough for whatever reason. If you just out and out lose, if you don't even get that shot for a second time running, by the hands of the same team, being Blank Esports, that would be a really rough way for it to all end for AHQ, especially when you consider how resurgent they've been. On the other side, Blank have had an okay Season 2. They've had a decent Season 2. They've had a Season 2 representative of a team that has hovered between 5th and 3rd place, and they're kind of looking to have an ending befitting of that as well, because either they get 4th or they get 5th.
Now the map pick does come through for AHQ. It's going to be Ilios, and as the home side this time around in the second round robin, AHQ do get to determine that first map pick as well as then the 3rd and 5th map pick, and then Blank Esports will get the away side with the hybrid and escort maps 2 and 4.
You've got to call that bold, right? Ilios being the pick. The reason you got to call that bold is, as good as AHQ have looked on Ilios in a lot of other situations, they haven't actually beaten Blank on it. And, well, aside from one time, they did it in the semi-final of Season 1, which is now quite a long time ago. I mean, functionally, it's ancient history, and I believe last time these teams met, they went to Ilios. It was Blank's home side pick, and they took that out as a win, if I'm not mistaken. AHQ have had decent performance on against other teams, and one of those teams was Ardiant. But by comparison, Blank beat Ardiant on Ilios. This is a bold pick, I think, from AHQ. It's not a silly pick. They are very good on this map. But man,
I'm going to say the opposite. This is a fantastic pick for AHQ, all things considered, and Blank should be the ones that have to be very careful here. In fact, it's when you really consider things around, AHQ have more of a stable strategy here. Dizzy has outsniped Eat You Up in the past. That much has been evident. They can go back on that history again. I think it's one thing to compare the performances against Ardian, and then one other thing to compare the performances against each other, which is, I feel, somewhat more relevant. Moving into this matchup, though, Dizzy is very likely to be on the pharmacy combo, and ASU have also had the better pharmacy combo than Huss and the rest of the Blank side. So it's been a bit of a struggle for Blank, and Blank got to come in still as, I guess, potential underdogs in a kind of way.
In a kind of way, absolutely. Huss has been pulling out the Pharah. In fact, that was part of how they won against Ardian yesterday, but not opting into it here. Trying to stick with the Genji, and that actually does mean he's really going to have to do a lot of work on Crappy and Dizzy here.
We already, unfortunately, we've seen some misfires from the Genji on Huss so far, so maybe he can redeem himself now.
That's not a misfire. Speaking of redemption, man, that means Eric getting forced way out of the point here is able to pull back to Crappy, but Huss is wanting more. They get Crappy too, looking to convert now on Eric and get Hihi's mech as well. That is a pretty commanding side win for Blank.
So far, a lot of picks on the Blank side. Going to get an early cap here as well, looking to snowball these ultimates forward. Meanwhile, for AHQ, they're very far behind here. They need to look for positioning. One thing that they do have is if they play the game slow, there's not a lot of options for Blank to deal with the pharmacy. Huss might get another kill, might have started with the kill of Dizzy, but if Dizzy's smart, he won't let it happen again.
That is, of course, the if. I mean, Dizzy is smart, we do know that, but look at Haas. I mean, he's just constantly itching for it, right? And it actually means Dizzy can't do as much as he'd be wanting. Now Haas can commit to the point where they want to get this follow-up on Eric, who's got this Discord on him. Haas, though, taking some shots, goes down to the splash damage. You can't quite deflect that one. They lose Gunba in it too. Not getting that closeout on Eric ended up being Blank tunnel visioning a little bit, giving AHQ the position to fight win.
The thing about AHQ's lineup here, compositionally, they can afford to play slow. Blank cannot. They're playing Tracer Genji. They have to continually dive into AHQ. AHQ can play the disengage here. They can fall back. They can allow that long-range damage from Dizzy to really take place. They can now even get this long-range poke in that Blank cannot, and it's a long-range poke with splash damage, and Blank got to be concerned about that.
That's, again, though, Haas getting Dizzy. That's going to be the instant res to come out, but Haas Dragon Blading, he does actually need to get something for it. They need it. There we go. Get Crappy out of the fight. That's a good one to get. Didn't actually get off the Dragon Blade, but they're getting other kills anyway. Haas is going to be able to stay alive.
Oh, see
quite. Second bump is going to secure it, but while that's all been going on, Eric, as much as it looks good, the rest of the team has been kind of falling out from behind him. Blank still have ultimates they can commit if they really need, if things are really dire, but not even needing that. Eat You Up's got the point on lockdown. They get the cap boot.
Good old fight, all things considered, from Blank Esports. Hus getting the original kill into Dizzy now the second time just by dashing into the air. Dizzy's got to be able to distance himself from Hus to make sure that doesn't happen. Good res from Crappy to get him back into the fight, but after that, you got to consider the rest of Blank Esports were able to get the kills even despite Hus not picking one up with the Dragon Blade. What he did manage to do though was get Eric rather low enough for other members to pick him up.
Chill has to pop the Primal Rage here, but that is a window for them to get aggressive and maybe convert something. Eric is indeed going to be that conversion. They need to still respect Dizzy and the damage because he's got that Rocket Barrage, but good catch on Crappy makes it just a little less safe for Dizzy here in AHQ. I think smart to just back off for this one. They only really get one last chance to fight. They need to make sure that Rocket Barrage counts.
HQ are going to come back in no res as well. It's going to be Rocket Barrage and also a Sound Barrier. That's what's got to really count here, playing directly into Gumba's Transcendence. Eat Up, though, if he gets a good Pulse Bomb, that could just spell the doom for AHQ before the fight even begins.
That's really what he's fishing for. They're trying to get the opening damage onto Hehe as well. It gets eaten up, that Pulse Bomb, but they're trying to close out on Hehe as he books it for the point. Sound Barrier is in. There's that Rocket Barrage, but it just... Oh, actually, sorry, that's not the Rocket Barrage. It is the Transcendence, though, out of Gunba, and they do get Hehe's mate getting carriers too, but now Gunba doesn't have any more ultimate to protect him. IQT only just getting the Sound Barrier, has to commit it as the Rocket Barrage. Dizzy goes down to his own barrage. Huss with the Dragon Blade finds himself with no targets aside from Eric, who isn't really the ideal one to kill. Good res out from Crappy, but they're still at a numbers disadvantage. Who is still got a self-destruct to play with on the point itself. Gonna throw it out just now, I believe, but not even gonna need it in the end because Blank have the control in that last fight.
A good victory for Blank so far, kind of proving they can deal with this pharmacy combo from Dizzy just as well as Ardian did in the previous matchups that we've seen on Ilias so far. And this is going to be a fight to also determine A, who makes it into playoffs, but also B, who actually gets to own Ilias here, because both of these teams really favor this map, but only one team can get that victory. And so far, Blank off to a great start. A good test will actually be onto Ruins, because that's when you can expect Eat Up to be sniping. That's when you can expect Dizzy to be responding to.
And it's a map that you really want to carry into playoffs as well. You know, if you own it, then you'd be happy to pull it out at any juncture in playoffs, especially for either of these teams against, for example, Ardian, whom whom Blank have recently beat on this map. So if it's AHQ who win this map and then get to play Ardian in that playoffs, be a good one to take. But that is all conjectural and all well into the future.
Both sides going to be running the exact same thing here. It does appear that Gunba and the Blank side do secure the health pack first, and now it's up to Dizzy to try and get these counter picks. Otherwise, it's going to be AHQ falling very far behind.
Good pressure onto Haas, the headshot first, and then he's just taking extra damage on the side. Neither Eat You Up nor Dizzy have ideal sightlines here, though, so gonna have to just see which one gets more, as it's actually Haas the first casualty in that headshot. Now they get IQT. Eat You Up does take out Dizzy, but he needs to get a lot of work done. They close out of Eric. They're trying to get this Tracer. Nice shot. And they're going to be able to secure that one out. Headshot as well into Crappy and Blank. Despite losing Haas early, despite losing Huru's mech, they are going to be able to secure the fight.
This is when it really counts for Blank getting this first cap in as well. Interestingly, though, Kerry's manages to get his EMP up first, so there is options now for ASU to come back in this fight. Eat Up should be thinking about using Infra Sight now to kind of counter out both Dizzy and also Kerry's on the Sombra. Make sure you see the Sombra coming up and anticipate the EMP.
And there it goes, pulling it out, and he was actually smart in that. Held it for that extra moment there just so that AHQ had already sort of committed to a bit of a movement. There's no backing out at that point. Now they just need to find the angles, find the shots. Needs to not get pressured out too hard, though. Be able to pull back to the health pack. It's going to be a game of EMPs. It's Gunva's out first. They only convert onto Dizzy. Haven't got anything else just yet, but pressure is there on Eric and now he as well. Eat up, despite being on the ground, isn't actually really getting challenged. It's actually kind of helping Blank in an interesting way. And even then, they're able to stay ahead in the fight without too much difficulty. No casualties on the side of Blank.
That's kind of what happens when Dizzy goes down quite early. Eat up can be wherever he wants, and Dizzy's never going to outsnipe him in that position. Carries held onto the EMP. ASQ held onto most of their ultimates, in fact, and now they actually threaten to come in with 6.
That is a really good pick, and a good EMP as well allows them to get aggressive with those ultimates. Gunva doesn't quite have his own EMP just yet, but AHQ not going to get anything more than that for now. Blank, they're behind in numbers, now losing Huss actually. Maybe they will commit to the fight, but they can just as easily safely not. But Dizzy getting headshot out by Eat You Up may just be Blank wanting to go aggressive. They do lose Huwu, lose RQT a second time. They're still looking like they want to commit here. They've got Trill Primal Raging on the point. Gunva's looking to get the angle with an EMP, but Eat You Up getting pressured out. Needs to be able to get away safely. Does for now. Need to find a way in if they're wanting to commit as hard as they are, because losing Trill now, they've pushed it up. We'll be pushing it up past that 90% mark. Should be happy to just take the loss here now.
That's the most important part, because Blank in the middle of all of this have been racking up that percentage on the progress. AHQ have not. AHQ don't even have the cap yet just now, and 95% and still climbing for Blank. You would expect it to go into overtime before AHQ even cap it out.
They will cap it out, though, and that's really what counts. One thing, though, is AHQ just have so many ultimates banked up. You expect that they can at least hold for one, if not more, defenses if they are efficient with these ultimates. But, of course, as always, a couple of picks from either Widowmaker could just completely throw that out the window.
So far, Eat Up has been landing the headshots into Dizzy, despite the fact, though, Dizzy's managed to get a couple kills on the other Blank members in the middle. So now AHQ... First Infrasight being used by Blank Esports here. It's going to give them an opening, allow Gunva to set up his EMP while potentially stopping carries, but that was the opposite.
Good pressure by Eric, and Eat You Up, kind of a sitting duck on the ground. He was trying to kind of one-up Dizzy and just say where Dizzy couldn't see him, but even then, not going to get anything for it, and they committed some ultimates into that one too without really drawing too much out of AHQ.
That was a really cheap fight from AHQ and kind of dissipating that Infrasight pressure as well. Gunva couldn't really take advantage of it. Carries didn't have to use an EMP, and now the EMP war can continue this next fight.
Big secure onto Hehe's mech and instantly closing out, losing Trill in the mix. They've got the self-destruct from Huwu though, and with that sound barrier on the table, they pick Crappy, who Eat You Up getting the headshot as well on Dizzy, and that's Blank off to an already great start. Haven't even committed their ultimates yet. We'll lose Huss in this as the conversion comes through for the EMP, but there's no one else to really get any more damage. Blank just need to secure out the point. Now there it goes in their favor. Overtime begins. AHQ have the members to stall it, but Blank have the members to secure the fight out. That's the EMP. That means no Hehe. He's already lost the mech even as the sound barrier comes out. Now that sound barrier has got to get a lot of work done. RQT was able to commit his own. Who didn't get too much with his own self-destruct though. But Blank, they've still got the numbers advantage. They close out on Hehe as well as Crappy. Nice catch on the Eat You Up, but they've got to do a lot more than just that. Carries and Dizzy both, but Eric going down means it's got to be just Carries and Dizzy, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do it. The overtime disappears, and Blank are going to re-secure Ilios.
It's a nice clean 2-0 there. ASU had a couple good moments on the back end of what is it called, the Ruins part of the map, and there it is, Serenity and the crowd cheering on his team.
The others didn't want their faces to be seen. Serenity's like, hi camera!
I'm on Blank. I'm Blank Serenity.
Yeah, there you have it. Cheering on his team. He's pleased with that. You can absolutely tell. And of course their coach, Doctor, whom we saw at the beginning of the game as well, similarly pleased. Well, Blank were feeling good coming in. Yeah, woo, Mega 2. Yeah, everyone's here. But Blank themselves, they felt good coming into this game. You got to feel even better after securing Ilios. And you got to go back to it. It was a bold pick from the start for AHQ. Not a bad pick, but a bold one. But it didn't pay off. And now the ball is in Blank's end of the court with the hybrid pick.
Blank looking pretty firm in the lead now, 1-0 up so far into the series. And AHQ, look, they definitely bet on Ilios, and unfortunately it was the wrong horse for them. It was the right horse for Blank though, and now they get to take that victory, and maybe even a little bit further on, depending on what we get into the second map. Before we even move on, let's head straight into the replays.
And you could almost call this a tale of two Widowmakers, right? But you've got to be honest in saying, we've seen Dizzy get heaps of headshots over and over again, but today it was Eat You Up, getting all these great shots on so many members, and getting so many great headshots on Dizzy. That was the I think about the 4th at this point in the game. He'd got one in the fight immediately preceding it, had got one in the opening scrap of the game as well. On the whole, Eat You Up just got way more pressure out than Dizzy. And that is, by the way, with Eric often committing to diving Eat You Up as well. So to be able to take out the other Widowmaker and survive what tool the enemy is using to take out your Widowmaker, that in itself created a disparity that favored Blank, and they absolutely ran with it.
And this is a really important fight for Blank as well, because when you really look at what led up to this, carriers had to use an EMP in an unfavorable situation because Blank were about to cap it out. Crappy used a sound barrier as well, only hit himself and 2 other members, but it still just wasn't enough. It was a really tight spot for AHQ, and you could tell they were getting quite desperate there. They just didn't have the time, they didn't have the pressure, and what really led up to that moment as well, you have to consider that big lead that Blank had. They got 99% off of 1 push, off of 1 hold, and AHQ, despite maybe even being around the 60 to 70% mark, starting to turn around, couldn't actually get the cap out until it hit the overtime.
And if you want to talk about cheap fights as well, AHQ got a good cheap fight win on the defense, but the one where Blank capped it back was even cheaper. They didn't use any ultimates where AHQ did. Like you said, that EMP, for example, was committed along with a couple of other small resources. And at the end of it, Blank actually had some resources to secure the final fight at the 99% mark.
That was just going to be enough for Blank, but now we're moving on to King's Row, which is, of course, Blank's pick. We've seen some good success so far on this map from Blank, and you do have to look back at the Ardiant series that Blank had last night to really see the results of that one. It went to a draw, so the best result anyone's ever had against Ardiant on King's Row, and so far, Ilios moving into King's Row is exactly the same map progression that we saw yesterday in that series.
And King's Row came really close. That's the thing. That's got to be what Blank carry into this as well. You're also smart to just, avoid maps like Numbani and all that jazz, even Hollywood there. As much as Blank themselves don't mind the odd bit of Numbani, they haven't actually played it much this season, and I would say, honestly, AHQ right now just look better on that map. So smart call to avoid it, smart call to go to King's Row. As much as you can call it neutral territory, the precedent coming into this has to be Blank's performance against Ardiant on it yesterday, which nearly was a win for them. It went, if I'm not mistaken, to Golden Point, and there was only there that Blank weren't quite able to do it.
So now moving into this, both teams can have certain expectations from the other side and even expectations of themselves here. We've seen what both of these teams like to run on this map, more so from the Blank end of things. So if you're AHQ and you studied up, you looked up Blank, you should be expecting the Huguzai, you should be expecting Trill onto the Reinhardt as well, Huss onto the Junkrat, just standard stuff for Blank on this.
Exactly. Exactly. Man, it's going to be great to see Huguzai. Always a joy. He's just good on it, just a really good Zarya player.
The other thing is, what you also did see was how Ardiant handled this composition, because mind you, it was a pretty good defense. It was a good offensive run as well. Blank did use this to pretty good success, but at the same time, Ardiant eventually does pick it apart, and they do complete their own defense, and they do complete their attack as well. So it's a case of looking at the plus and the minuses, the pros and the cons, and really finding where your opportunities are.
Pro Reinhardt. That's how you do it. I'm going to be honest. I only just noticed that the Omnic is holding the hand of a little girl. I've only ever
What did you think was
I just
there
never
before?
even noticed it. I didn't know that there was a thing there. Like, I've only ever paid attention to the Omnic. I know that's really bad of me to say. I've just never noticed that before.
As an Englishman, that's true. I didn't see anyone else. I just see the Omnic.
I just saw the
dirty Omnic.
Oh, good catch on Crappy into the trap and mine there. That's a nice opening one. Does mean HQ just have to wait for the respawn.
Yeah, people do need to check their feet here a little bit. They need to check the ground to make sure this isn't happening. And Huss has managed to get a lot of charge already. And one early Riptide, could be really putting Blank ahead. However, he's managed to get a decent amount of energy charge here. You'd expect Hulu to have the same. That's the battle of Zarya's.
Woo! Good catch on Gunbit in the charge, but Eric does get traded. Huss keeps it on lockdown. That was good movement by AHQ, getting very, very aggressive, trying to leverage the high charge out of Hehe, but unfortunately it put them in just a little too deep. Still getting some kills on the backside does really help them out though, just because Blank kept the further away respawn.
Yeah, so the plus size for Blank here is that Hulu gets to live with the energy charge. The plus size for AHQ though is that they got a couple of picks in there that force Blank to reinforce a little bit slower. That allows AHQ now to push very aggressively.
Huwu has to get a lot of work done with that high energy that, like you said, he was able to preserve. Nearly getting the grab, though. That's going to be the real swing tool. They've put the nano boost on. There's the grab. Looking to just get in and do it all himself. It's the Riptide that gets one. The damage to get the others. Huwu does go down, but AHQ, without Rapid really healthy enough to stay in this fight, they're just relying on Dizzy to do the work along with Hehe. Blank, they do lose Huwu, do lose Trill too. They've still got some good position. 2/3 now. Blank, you've got to be waiting for that reaggress. Ooh, maybe not. Yeah, good Bionade allows them to close out those kills, and now you've got to say Blank have to give up this position.
That was smooth from AHQ when you consider the timings. It's not just that fight, but the setup as well. The second to last fight, how they even got into position. They knew they had a respawn advantage. They knew they were going to get back to A faster. Blank, just a little bit too slow there, waiting for the respawners. They got in there quickly. They dealt with Huwu, survived the Graviton, all things considered. Rapid even got a good flame comp to Trill, who knocked him out. And then AHQ just pushes on through. That was super clean.
Yeah, really nicely done, and great execution on that narrow window they had just as those respawning members of Blank were waiting to rejoin the fight. So now with the payload underway, grab as well, that's what they're looking for. Able to throw it in, whole hog on top.
Blender.
That's a big blender. Oh, but they're saved by the sound barrier, and they're getting the kills through themselves. The nano boost onto Husk makes it pay off. That is huge for Blank to survive that deadly, deadly combo. They are going to stall up the card off the back of that.
And you'll be patting your teammates back, RQT there with a clutch sound barrier, saving everybody. Even the Bionade landing from carries was so good from AHQ. Once again, the execution from AHQ was fantastic, but the response from Blank this time was just as good.
AHQ could have thrown in more ultimates as well. They just weren't quite willing. They felt that they already had it in the bag. Well, won't make that same mistake twice as they look to commit Earth Shatter and Nano Boost. It's a decent sleep, but the kills come through no matter what, and AHQ getting it back underway. This team comp is just barreling at Blank, and it's almost becoming too much pressure to bear. Blank do get a couple of kills back on the end of that fight, and it's not going to be enough to really stop up the card. It just buys some ultimate charge.
Problem here is you have to keep your Zyra alive. He's staying alive. He retains some charge. Huwu dying despite having to grab, has to rebuild everything. So for Blank, they got to rely on this Graviton, but Huwu's not going to be the one dealing the damage. End up going down as well. This is turning into a disaster. AHQ are going to go aggressive.
He had actually been there since point A capped. It's just he had had a sightline that for that whole time, but he didn't actually have a good way of getting back to his team. So now he's just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, looking for this. Oh, what a sleep! Husk getting traded 1-for-1 there with the passive, and Trill picking up he takes that Zarya charge off the table. Now it's all about Huwu and what he can do in the fight with his own damage. Blank need to get a few more kills to make this pay off. Getting Rapid is one, getting Eric low and Dizzy as well is another, but Dizzy's got a whole hog. They may want to commit to it. No, they are going to have to back out. Yeah, they really do. And Blank going to try and look for the route here, not quite closing out on Eric or Dizzy. They do just have to back off themselves now.
It only takes one good sleep dart to shut down AHQ completely. Rapid got nothing done there. Huwu response Graviton. Now it recharges his energy, or rather recharges his ultimate back up to 56 as well. Blank Esports are looking really set up.
There's that grab available again, but there's still another sound barrier. Eat you up. Nano visor out. Grab is there, but again, it just can't get any work done. Oh my goodness, it's going to happen to them twice. AHQ getting the Vietnam flashbacks, and this time it's a full gong.
The problem here is Dizzy even committed into the whole hog as well. Graviton by Hehe. They really went hard on this fight, and now they're unfortunately paying for it. Like Esports, they're still feeling good because they got the double tank ultimates. They can now go for a good rotation here. Earth Shatter into Graviton Surge, or vice versa. As long as they can make sure those are intact, they're going to be just fine.
AHQ, man, they really need to leverage that Earth Shatter. That's got to be the big kahuna for them. And Huwu, he's just looking for a grab. There's nothing to block it here, and Eric already getting low.
It's got to be the Reinhardt discipline, right? That's what we've been talking about on to King's Row so far. Who's going to block who out?
Oh, there it goes in. There's the Earth Shatter out from Eric, but they can't follow up on it. They're all caught in the grab. Trading 1-for-1, but Dizzy is low. That's a good kill on Trill, though, to stop any follow-up from his Earth Shatter. Eat you up, though, on the backside of the spike, trying to pressure out carries. He's gonna... Oh, though. Oh, goes down here. He has the pullback. Blank, they've got closer respawns, but they've just got to rely on Huwu to keep the fight alive for the Rapids. Now in a Death Blossom, looking to secure it. Catches Gunber as well, and that's going to be the cap, and you've got to question what Blank were doing with those members positioned on the backside of that fight.
And no sleep dart from Gumbo this time to stop up Rapid, and that's what it looks like when he gets a Death Blossom up and eat up as well. The second time he loses a 1-versus-1 duel to carries, who just manages to get the better of him on a support hero against a DPS hero. I mean, wow. AHQ, that's a deserving push.
Yeah, wow, indeed. I mean, that's the thing. You've got to imagine, what if EDUP had been in the front of that fight when they got those ultimates out to follow up the damage? Now getting aggressive is AHQ with the nano boost on Eric. It's old school time. Trill, though, weathers the storm. Sound barrier out onto AHQ as they try and convert, but they've lost carries. Need to be careful of this one. They've only got Crappy to heal off all those tanks. Blank still looking for the in. Riptire, oh, he's not in a safe spot, and he sniffs him out to close out the kill. They do still have to back off for the time being, but that is one less resource for Blank.
All right, AHQ is still just maintaining their positioning here as they're waiting for more abilities and more ultimates to come up online. Both Graviton Surges now available. Who's going to fire first?
And if it's AHQ, you got to anticipate that sound barrier once again. And there it goes out. The shield is there. They're both in grabs and no one can get kills, but the sound barrier is kind of swung it the way of Blank. They get the first pick on the Dizzy, and the tactical visor is in for Eat You Up as well. It's only the 2 kills, but it is the force out of AHQ. They may want to try and go for a route. Probably can't, because they may walk into an Earth Shadow, so smartly going to hold tight, but Blank, nice hold.
Yeah, once again, they went for the blender there, so Dizzy was unaffected by the Earth Shadow, or rather unaffected by the Graviton Surge. He went around the corner, got himself a whole hog, but was blocked out. Blank just managed to deal with him perfectly. Even the Bionade landing by carries once again was not enough.
Hadn't been spotted. Huge charge on Hee. Long enough such that the barrier doesn't last, but the Earth Shatter in from Eric may swing it back the other way. They lose Trill, and that's one of the ultimates. One of the few ultimates they had to convert off here. Now Eric's still going aggressive. They're still getting kills in this. Blank have to find a way to get back out. It's going to be the nano boost on Hubu to try and make it work. Husk going down. It's all these trades, but that does end up helping Blank because of the respawn advantage. Keeping the payload contested now as the last members of AHQ either dead or backed out. 10 seconds to go.
Not enough time to get more ultimates up alive. Crappy onto the Zenyatta as well. It's Huss onto the Bastion. What is even going on here? Everything comes down to one more fight. He's even gone onto the Diva here. That's probably good to block out Huss's damage.
Unless he gets dead. Gets dead. He loses the mech. He's going to get closed up on him. The grab is there for Hubu, plus the Earth Shatter out, a Trill smasher of good ults. And AHQ on that final fight going to almost get completely gonged out. It is only Crappy alive at the end. That is one way to hold it out. Now Blank have the opportunity to secure the map. All they need to do is get the distance.
And Blank there as well. As soon as Earth Shatter came down, as soon as the kill went onto Hee, everyone got dead, and that's exactly what Blank need to push on through.
Got dead. Remember that thing I'm never going to live down ever? You got dead.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Get dead.
Get dead. It's like that thing of the like old school gangster films where they weren't allowed to swear. Like, why'd you get dead? They wouldn't say that though. They'd say like, get bent. Why'd you get bent? I don't like your mouth.
I'm gonna get you dead.
I'm gonna get you dead. I'm gonna get you. They couldn't even say like, I'll kill you. Just be like, I'm gonna get you. Like, what is this, a Blondie song?
So far, it's been Blank getting on AHQ. Still, though, AHQ has some good moments, particularly on A. You got to credit how they handled that cap. Also, on to B, some really good setups where they were able to just kind of out macro Blank in a sense, kind of set up good fights. The second, you always got to look at the fight before the big change up in the current fights, because it has to be the setups. That's where AHQ have had really good successes so far. But now on their own defense, they did manage to get the cart nearly towards the end, so it's not quite a cap. We're definitely not going to time bank, but what can AHQ achieve on their own defense as they pull out a Junkrat of their own?
What that means is Blank aren't going to the golden point like they did against Ardian. Either they win it or they lose it. It's really that simple. It's kind of... I really want to know who that little girl is now, because I know that the Omnic is Mondada.
It's Effie.
The one who died in the Mondada, I mean. Mondada's the one who dies in
the Mondada cinematic.
Yeah, well,
he had his own cinematic.
The Widowmaker cinematic.
Nice.
Widowmaker Tracer. Jeez. Well, at any rate, I know who the Omnic is. I don't know who the girl is. Like, what's so important about it? Or is the girl like a young Tracer?
All right. Who is this Blank though? That's the real question, because they're going to be running this Bastion Orisa composition that we've seen a little bit. They ran this one time. I forget the team they played it against.
I have a feeling it may have actually been against AHQ or maybe against Flash Rolls. And actually, you know what? It worked.
Kinda. It worked for a while until the cart got stopped though. It worked until
it didn't.
That's the thing, right? Because all it took was the cart to get stabilized, and without the cart, this composition does fail. So we'll have to see what kind of mileage Blank can get here.
It's working, because here's the thing, is like the Bastion zones everyone out. They got Hehe as well, and you've got Huwu in the middle of the fight, putting the damage on these members of AHQ who are ducking for cover. They can't really do anything to touch, eat you up, and Blank know that. They're taking advantage of it. AHQ know this isn't the right comp to deal with eat you up. Now this is just time on the point that AHQ can't really move out to contest. The disaster here would be, Riptide has to come out now from Rapid, has to be big. Only getting Huss. It's not quite enough, at least takes that shield reposition off the table. Good sleep on to eat you up. This is the window for them. Huwu close to a grab, and Huss does get to rejoin the fight. Getting the damage in, looking for the grab. There's the big one. All the damage of the Bastion. He is awake and he is ready to fight. Nice hook for style points, but Dizzy is surely going to go down here as the route comes in. He's just ready. It's ready for them to come around the backside of it. Actually, went back into Sentry form, but it doesn't matter. Still going to secure this fight, despite the whole hog, despite the Bastion dying. Just took the sound barrier commit to come out. And for all the sleep darts, Blank do get the cap.
That's probably the only thing AHQ landed properly there, and they kind of had to just damage control their situation. Blank out composition, then they picked a better composition that directly counters what AHQ were trying to set up. You kind of set it quite well there. They don't have anything to deal with this Bastion. No one can touch you up, and now the cart does begin to move. This is where Blank need to maintain their setup, or they will lose. As soon as this cart stops, as soon as AHQ stabilize, Blank can no longer run this.
Man, it's like... You remember in beta when no one knew what to do against like the Bastion Mercy Reinhardt on the payload, and it was called Get Down Mr. President? This is like the new version of that.
El Presidente, and that was when
that's right, El Presidente.
2 Widowmakers as well. 2 Reinhardts was what it was, so it's a lot.
Yeah, well that was also back when Control was like the 2 Lucio, 2 Winston, 2 Tracer. Glad we are not in those days anymore. But El Presidente is still alive and kicking. They're going to put their heels in and fight here with that supercharger out. That's what Rapid's got to look for. Throwing the tire in. Gets Huwu for good measure as well. Blank need to find more kills in this one. Busy keeping the eye lines in here as well. Crappy's the casualty though. His Eat You Up is still not really being contested here. Dizzy doesn't have that eye line. Heck, even goes down to a bio nade.
You got to kind of question Rapid's target selection with the Riptide there, because to be quite fair, if you went for Huss and you went for his supercharger, that would have knocked out a lot of the damage for Blank. Instead, they went for a different target. They went for Trill. That doesn't really open things up just yet. The supercharger got a lot of value from Huss, and now the cart continues. As long as the cart remains in control of Blank Esports, this composition works. So for AHQ, they had the chance to stabilize. Now that chance may be over.
They are trying to keep Eat You Up hidden so he can ult out onto something like a grab. There it goes, gets 2 with a shot, and the dead eye does not get enough. 4K for Eat You Up. Can you say play of the game?
It's not over just yet though, so Blank Esports, how are they going to continue this onwards? For AHQ though, you have to wonder, when exactly do they stabilize this cart? It should be more and more likely as it spawns favor AHQ more and more, but so far it's just been Blank continually pushing on through. And soon the tank ultimates, they rotate back into action.
Yeah, Blank are a little low on ultimates here. They've only got the sound barrier, but it's not like AHQ have a wealth of ults themselves, but that's what they need to pick on Eat You Up. Sound barrier is in, but Blank don't actually have any counter trades just yet. Rapid is low, but he's going to get a Riptire if he doesn't go down, and now he can use that to swing the fight itself. Blank smartly starting to back out just a little bit, and Eat You Up also off the Bastion onto the Tracer.
Smart moves there, and now Blank still keeping Huss onto the Arista for the time being. Maybe just looking for that supercharger as the rest of the tanks. Huwu very close to the grab now. Trill is somewhat getting close to the Earth Shatter, but now AHQ in control of the ult economy. Expect a big Riptide play here.
They are, but it's got to be big. Otherwise, gets Eat You Up. But you maybe want a bit more with that nano boost committed as well. No trades in for Blank, though, who are happy to just back it up. Absorb those 2 ultimates. 3 minutes still very close to finish.
It's actually a decent win for Blank there. You'll take what you can get and eat up dying to a nano Riptide. Yeah, that's a pretty good trade for Blank. You'll take that one. Now with Huwu on grab, you can start to move forward. You can start to really exert this win condition. The good news for AHQ is they have the Transcendence to block it out.
What they've also got as well is the defense matrix, so there's the chance that the grab gets swallowed up by that too. They need to respect this call. It's going to be the ultimate, the Deadeye out of Dizzy as the grab comes out means they can't actually get the follow-up on it, so good use of that to kind of zone. They committed the Transcendence too, but now Blank with a few tools here. He not getting anything with the self-destruct, and it's only the Earth Shatter now from Eric that's going to have to go the distance. Good pick on Keras on the back line, trying to get aggressive on Eric. They don't convert off the Earth Shatter. Edu up and Trill, they're the ones going off, and the Supercharger makes it happen. Just under 3 meters to go. Blank, they've got all the kills. Was that a gong? I heard, but it's the cap nonetheless. 2-0 up, Blank doing it in style.
As a commanding lead now that Blank can be very pleased with it for AHQ. Man, they had so many opportunities to try and fight back in there, and right at the end there, looked like they were maybe getting in. They looked like they were maybe finally able to turn things around, but it's just not the case.
Man, I told you you'd be player of the game. Again, I'm getting flashbacks to the glory days of Bastion, right? Like, there was that point, like, right when the game came out where everyone was stupid and no one knew how to kill it, right? And then there was that time where Bastion got the buff. Oh, geez. That's flashbacks right there. But you know what it is, more importantly, is it's Blank picking themselves up the map win. With that, they go 2-0 up in the series on what was their home side pick. And now they're in the exact same position as last time they met AHQ. 2-0 up. They did drop the Assault, but then they won it back on Escort. They've even got the opportunity to just get a 3-0 here. Any kind of win secures their spot in playoffs. Now they're at match point. Let's take a look at some replays.
So Crappy just kind of, unfortunately, landing on that trap there. Didn't check the corners. It's kind of slowed down AHQ quite a bit. Kind of puts Huss particularly, really charges his ultimate up here and puts Eat up in a nice position as well. AHQ, though, they come back pretty strong. You have to look for the setup here once again because it's how they sort of dismantle this defense that really counts. They get a lot of return kills here. There still isn't a successful push, but because it's aggressive, that charge into Gumba starting things off. And the kills that are really important here, you have to notice one was on the Gumba. Should be another one, either Huss or Who or someone else really important dies here that really allows then AHQ to come back very aggressive.
Yeah, it is Huss, and that's the thing. It's the respawns that end up changing it, because Eat You Up was able to get back into the fight just in time with that sprint. Huss, on the other hand, who also had the Riptire that could have swung it, wasn't quite there. And AHQ, they were smart to commit. Like, they didn't actually have all of their members just yet when they committed for the fight, but they knew that the numbers were even enough. They knew that Blank were going to be pulled back while they were waiting to reposition, and they knew that their members would join sooner than Huss would, and Huss wouldn't actually be able to get a Riptire out, wouldn't be able to set up traps and mines, wouldn't be able to do any of those other things, would just be trying to throw in spam damage to help rescue the fight. Very smart call by AHQ, very decisive as well.
And that could have been very different if AHQ didn't play the situation properly, didn't take advantage of the fact that respawners were late for Blank. That would have just been a full reset in Blank, and they'd have been happy to take that because he died, Who didn't, Who were much closer to grab as well. He retained his energy, he didn't, so that was still a good position for Blank to be in, but because AHQ were decisive, they knew the timings very well, they played the pacing well, they came out on top and deservedly so in that fight.
Exactly, that's the thing, like you've got to imagine there's that alternate universe where they played a little slower and Blank reset up and full hell or something wacky like that, but they didn't even hold on B. AHQ did actually get a really good momentum push throughout here. Blank stopped them up for a little while, but now they start to break it back through, and a lot of it just comes off surviving this crucial grab here. They lose Eric, and it looks like it's off to a bad start, but they catch Huss. Trill gets the Earth Shatter, but he doesn't really get much in it, and there's no one here to follow it up. Now you're in a position where Eat You Up was way off to the side trying to wrap around and get carries because they were expecting to get some kills in the grab and to have AHQ pull back. He was ready to kind of lay a trap and cut them off, but all it really meant is he wasn't actually in the fight where it was happening. AHQ took that numbers advantage and ran with it, and still had ultimates to boot at the very end. You saw there, of course, the Death Blossom to secure the fight. Really, AHQ just played it right.
And AHQ as well, team play from Hehe, putting the bubble onto the projected barrier onto Rapid to make sure the sleep dart wasn't going to come through. The sleep dart which Gumba used the first time around, which stopped Rapid from getting the Death Blossom. And he had waited a long time for that setup as well, and it was a good setup. He was going to get a beautiful Death Blossom, but it wasn't the case because Gumba shut it down. AHQ though, again, good adaptation, good timings on usage of abilities and ultimates, and they got in at the right time and they succeeded. But it was C where they really got stopped up.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Like they lost a bit of time on A, they lost a bit of time on C, and on B rather, and what that amounted to was Blank being able to fully hold it out on a certain point on C. If you can get yourself into that situation where just time-wise, all you need to do is win one last fight, if you're Blank and you do win that one last fight, then you're happy enough with that. And the reality is as well, if it had been a cap in overtime too, that still would have been probably okay enough for Blank. They wouldn't have minded that. Ideally, you don't want that to happen because stopping up the payload altogether allows you to have that win condition of just capping it yourself, which is how they won the map. But Blank on the whole, with that, with the way the defense went, just chipping away at the clock and getting such a high momentum offense of their own, they wouldn't have minded it being capped. They could have been confident to get that same mileage again in Time Bank.
Yeah, and with that now, it's going to be so far the 2-0 for Blank. AHQ down, but not necessarily out just yet. The winner of this, don't forget, will be moving on to playoffs, and the loser, unfortunately, will not. So, still a lot rides on the results of this match. It will be now settled, potentially on the third and final map coming up after this break. Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2 as we're about to head into Map 3 of the Blank versus AHQ series. Currently, Blank lead that one 2-0, and doing so fairly convincingly as well. So now let's see how AHQ come back.
Well, how indeed. I mean, hold on a second. What do you mean the away team picks? If there's that, I think that must be AHQ's pick. That may just be because AHQ are the home side. We're on map 3, so
it's AHQ's pick.
There we go. There we go. And I was going to be surprised as well if Blank went to Hanamura.
Blank like,
really confused.
We're feeling great. We're feeling good about tonight. Let's go to Hanamura.
Well, when I saw the Hanamura, I was like, this makes a lot of sense for AHQ to pick it. Blank are weak on it. AHQ are good on it. This makes a ton of sense. Threw me off for a moment, but there we go. No, it's AHQ's pick, and well, all those things are still true. Blank are weak on it, AHQ are strong in it, and it makes a ton of sense.
I think for Blank here is if Blank can actually beat AHQ on Hanamura, as you said, kind of the weaknesses and strengths of both sides on it, that would really show that Blank deserved to move on forward. They've now overcome their weakness on this map. They've shown AHQ up. It's a 3-0 victory. That would be the most deserving place for Blank to move on. However, you do have to favor AHQ going into this assault map.
You really do. I want to touch on something else. Last time Blank were in this kind of position, they were 2-0 up against Mega. They went on to win that series. Went to a full 5 games. Was not a comfortable series. Their own thoughts on it after it were actually, they kind of said, yeah, we sort of stopped playing after the second map. So Blank need to not fall prey to that same mistake. Even so, definitely not favored coming into assault. There's no two ways about that. AHQ have been pretty undislodgeable on Hanamura. I am trying to remember if they played it against Ardiant last time these teams met, but if you want some relevant data, I believe they beat Mega on it. Even in the series that they lost to Mega, they beat Hong Kong Attitude on it. In the series that they won against Hong Kong Attitude. And actually, no, they didn't. That's a lie.
Ardiant have only lost 2 maps.
Yeah, that second part's a lie. See, I don't know if they went to Hanamura against Ardiant, is what I couldn't remember. But they did go to Hanamura against Flash Wolves, and that was a pretty one-sided one. Look, really, this is the sort of map now that AHQ are just going to be favored on going into playoffs if they do make playoffs. It's the sort of map that really no one has been able to kind of hold a candle to them on yet.
And that's why it's now so important for Blank that if they can win here, that they've really showed themselves up, and that's their most deserving moment going to the playoffs because this is so AHQ favored. So that being said as well, for AHQ, you really expect a lot here. The pressure is on them to continue that performance and reach those expectations and meet them.
Where does the turret part come from? Because it just kind of appears.
Toolbox. The toolbox the size of an actual lunchbox that you take.
Because it's a handle, but then the handle kind of disappears and like a turret sort of pops out of nowhere. Like, I mean,
listen, I got a lot of questions about how stuff works in Overwatch from the scientific point of view. That's probably one of the things I question the least about what works in Overwatch.
Well, this is a setup. EDUP is going to be onto the Bastion, and they're just looking to drill through these shields here. This is kind of interesting. They're going to be able to get the turret out of the picture. Suppose it worked.
Drill sounds quite apt here because that's essentially what they are doing. They're just setting up the EDUP on the Bastion, drilling through Crappy every single time. Yes, there's the Orisa shield. Yes, Eric's put down a shield as well, but how do you get to EDUP? How do you actually approach him?
Yeah, you certainly can't go around that side of things. You've actually just got to keep breaking the Reinhardt shield from Trill. Huss is on this Widow as well, and what they really need is to actually get a pick, because look, EDUP is going to take down shields, and then Trill's shield is going to get taken down, and they're not really going to get anything. They need to get a pick out of someone like Huss to make this worthwhile, but that's another way to do it. It's just barrage through Dizzy. Now EDUP needs to get set up so that he can get healed up. Oh my god, these ups. He's low.
This is the problem though. Well, this is, I guess, the good thing for Blank is they finally moved. They finally repositioned, because otherwise, just staying at the gate does nothing. You're not actually getting close to the camp. You're wasting a lot of time, and you're not getting progress. Now, it's kind of even Pixie. Any team can still come out on top.
Oh, that's a good stick onto EDUP, and that really meant that Blank was spending a bit too much time in that kind of narrow room. EDUP was kind of caught between trying to finish off Crappy and trying to close out some other kills. He did end up getting one, but he didn't kill Crappy. He couldn't kill Eric in time, and Blank ended up losing too many members in that fight.
The problem for Blank here is that you cannot be in a situation where you're just trading resources and trading cooldowns. If you're on the Bastion and you're just trying to melt the shields or get the Crappy turret, those shields come back online and you still haven't touched the cap yet. And that's just going to be an infinite cycle for you, which AHQ are happy to take.
Now EDUP set up. This Riptire could be the big one. Finds EDUP, who was slept. That's something significant. My goodness, words are hard. Sleepnificant, yeah. Have a nap. How do you even make a robot sleep? And it goes into rest mode. Huss getting pressured out as well in the air here. They're trying to top him off because really he's the last leg that got this fight.
The problem here for Blank is that EDUP can't really group up with his team again safely, so AHQ can take advantage of that as well. Spore camp EDUP if you want. Dizzy's got to stay alive, though. That's a big one.
Yeah, Dizzy really is to stay alive. Huss has the nano boost, and Eat You Up's trying to go in with the ultimate, but he's got Huss's numbered there, and Eat You Up's just not getting work done. Goes down to a bio-nade of all things. Earth-shattering from Trill. They're trying to convert with the self-destruct in as well. It gets Crappy, who was using the Molten Core, but they need to get more than that. Actually got Dizzy too, just on the later end of that one. That's going to be AHQ, maybe a little too lean for members now, even as Blank are barely staying alive. Good sleep, but the damage is there. They've got a nano boost on Hee to try and keep it alive, and that works. That gets Trill and RQT, and now who has to turn tail and take a dive? No third for Blank. That's rough.
And Karius has been holding onto this cap so well for AHQ. Every time you think, okay, Blank might get a leg up here, there's a nice sleep dart coming out, there's a good biotic grenade. Everything Karius has been doing has been fantastic. And let's not forget, he was beating Eat Up in those 1v1s when Eat Up was playing the Soldier. And now it's going to be a big change for Blank Esports as they realize this Bastion composition no longer working, cannot replicate the same success as Kings Row. AHQ have learned, and now they look better.
Well, I'm part of, excuse me, part of it as well, right, is it takes a bit of setup. It's a slow push kind of one, and with 30 seconds left, you don't have time to slow push.
This is now a big problem for Blank, who are just diving directly onto this camp. Dizzy now should have a bit of a field day, locked up and bunkered down.
They need to top Huss up, otherwise they could just have him be the first casualty. Sound barriers here. They're going to have to commit it because they know that AHQ are kind of closing in from all sides. The Bionade on these members as well as they try and just get aggressive. RQT going down to that self-destruct, and they're still just looking for more here as Trill in the trap. He's going to probably lose his life here. Indeed, he does. They're just not getting any counter trades. The Riptile looking to secure the last few members out. Not even getting a third here is Blank as the last few members getting beaten back. Huwu, no 5k this time. They do just barely get the third at the last possible moment, but they can't really reinforce these members here properly, I don't think. It's going to be a hard ask for sure, trying to get Trill now onto this point, but it's not looking good for them. He's going to go for the dive onto it, but there's no one to reinforce. Huss just a little too far away still, and I think that may just be it. Indeed it is. 40.7% now is where Blank have to hold.
AHQ are back in action. This is the AHQ that beat Flash Wolves. This is the AHQ that looked like they were on fire, and suddenly the tables turn rather dramatically for Blank. That the Bastion composition that they tried to run here, very much putting all their eggs into one basket. Had it been successful, this would be a very smart move by Blank, but because it's not, you really got a question now. That was a late swap off as well. They really tried to commit. It went for 3 minutes. In the final minute, they said, okay, back to Tracer, back to Soldier. We have no time. We just got to dive. Don't even have a third here. And now AHQ set up for the full hold, or rather the full attack.
And you've got to wonder, you know, how would this have gone maybe if Blank had just gone for the old standard? I mean, maybe, yeah, you keep someone onto the Widowmaker. In that situation, probably, yeah, I Eat You Up. But, look, this is the team that has the record for the fastest double cap on Hanamura in a LAN environment. But they're also getting first held on Hanamura at 40.7%. By the way, that map where they got that record, they actually still went on to lose Hanamura. That was against AHQ as well, if I'm not mistaken. Just
so, yeah,
on the whole, yeah, like on the whole, I mean, if anything, Blank look like they've got a bit worse at Assault, or at least against AHQ and Hanamura.
Let's not forget, though, they have also beaten several teams on Assault where they weren't favored. In fact, every time they're on Assault, they're not favored. So every time they do win an Assault, it's like, well,
yeah,
they are getting that. But right now, it's kind of like, you know, once again, this was the case yesterday against Arden as well. New Blank, same Assault.
Yeah, basically. Well, Junkrat Trap. Let's see how they choose to do it. It's Junkrat Trap. It's gonna be hard. Like maybe Blank can do it. Stranger things have happened, but ain't gonna be easy.
Or will it be? I don't know. It's the thing is, Blank might just go for that sudden spring of play, and AHQ might just get held up here, but it just seems so unlikely now. It just seems like Blank already have to be preparing for map 4. Don't want it to sound too final because we're not there just yet. And it really depends on AHQ. I feel like it's more the stage set for AHQ to meet, again, those expectations for why they're good at this map.
They've got Dizzy onto that Widowmaker. This is the composition that Blank are maybe now wishing they had been running on their attack, and going to see if Dizzy's able to convert. with that, with those shots. They do catch carries, but that's one. Yeah, that's the kind of headshots they need. Huss, a little vulnerable here, needs to be careful as he tries to go.
Not a good 1v1.
Is he not at all? And he's the second headshot casualty. Not a safe or smart 1v1. Even winning it would maybe have cost them as he tried to pull back, and AHQ with the closer respawn. Happy to start getting on top of the point now as RQT goes down, and Blank just aren't really offering much resistance here.
And the problem is, Huss went for Dizzy when in fact Eat-Up should have gone for him instead. If Huss was now where Dizzy was on their defense, and Huss going and defending the point itself, this could be very different, but all of these kills coming in, AHQ, first attempt, instant cap.
And it's done. Oh man.
Map 4, here we go.
I'll be honest, look, that was almost guaranteed to happen. The moment Blank got like held up just shy of a third, they only got over that third in like this real last ditch kind of incident. It's almost unheard of for AHQ to not cap that first point. Look, you know, we didn't count Blank out, and I think rightfully so. You can never count out really either of these teams. And I suppose that's what this is, right? AHQ are 0-2 down, but you also can't count them out either, because fully first holding, them only getting that 40% mark, that's a pretty phenomenal turnaround result. And when the first two maps, they were Blank wins, but they were somewhat close. If you can start repeating what we've just had here in Hanamura, then your AHQ, you can easily take this to a match point in your own right. You can easily close this out in a reverse sweep, and it would be the second one in a row today. But before all that, let's go ahead and take a look at some replays, see how it all happens.
This is going to be the movement through from Blank, and mind you, they've already spent a minute sitting up here in the front gates. This is the first time they're actually moving around the side. Losing any members here is really critical for AHQ to be able to kill on the Blank side, because the reinforcements get a bit awkward. When you have a slow composition, when you're running all of these tanks, someone like Trill dying, how does Trill get back to his own team? He's completely caught out. So now Blank have no option. They just have to reset here. This fight is completely over.
And there was this moment there as well where Eat You Up was sort of on a part of that corridor. He was looking across at Crappy and also looking in towards Eric, and couldn't really decide which to go for. He knew that he couldn't just completely expose himself to Eric, at least with, to Crappy, at least with the turret up. So he did have to kill that, but that was also the time that Eric was able to go in with the nano boost and convert all those other kills. Didn't matter that he was then able to turn back around and get carries. So it was this interesting situation where actually AHQ didn't mind that the Bastion was just kind of sitting there uncontested, because it couldn't really do anything either.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because this is now when Blank feel like they're caught between a rock and a hard place. You have two options here. You're shooting the turret down, you're shooting through the shields. By the way, AHQ are happy to just rebuild turrets, rebuild shields. That's easy. That's not progress in the cap itself. Let's go into the next replay now here.
And go ahead and watch Blank lose it again. And this was them, I think the last time they ended up running the Bastion here. They had the ultimate, they really needed to convert off it. They were off to an okay start. They got the turret out, but this is where it starts to go a little bit sour. They get onto the point, they're looking for at least something, but no one on AHQ has died. They're consistently able to just pull back. Eat You Up doesn't get anything with the ult, and Huss, while trying to kind of wrap around, left himself way too exposed to Hee. The rest of the members of AHQ kind of deathballed on the point. This is a nice looking ult out of Huwu. It kills two members and a turret, so it's at least something, but really that's all the resources they had. They lose Gunba really quickly, RQT is extremely low, and AHQ just have more to use themselves. They commit in with Hee with that nano boost, which is more than enough at that point to take out someone like Trill when RQT can't heal all those members up that quickly alone. That's the trade-off of the Lucio. When the Lucio is your only healer, you're never going to get those tanks healthy enough to really stay in the fight against other tanks.
So there's a two-part issue there for Blank. One was that Eat Up used the tank configuration mode kind of far away. He got caught out by carriers of all people, so I don't know what it is, but carriers is just beating Eat Up no matter what compositions they're running. It's just carriers playing Ana. Doesn't matter what Eat Up plays, carriers is winning that. Now Blank get to go to Route 66, which is new, I guess. We haven't seen barely any Route 66. That's going to be interesting. But the other part of the issue, going back to Hanamura just for a little bit here, is that the Earth Shatter came down, was a good Earth Shatter. Self-Destruct came out to follow up, was a good follow-up. Got the kills onto the turret, the turret onto Crappy and also onto Dizzy, but not enough members to follow up after that.
Exactly, and it's because you didn't have the DPSs. Eat You Up is dead, Huss is dead, and those are the members that need to close out those kills when you're in that advantageous position. But moving forward to Route 66, interesting, I suppose, to not see a Dorado pick, purely because Blank are really good on Dorado. And I don't know, I suppose there's just a bit of respect being given here, I guess. And certainly this will be picked with a plan in mind. So we'll have to see what said plan is.
Especially seeing AHU being full held up by Hong Kong Attitude last night as well.
Yeah.
So that is very interesting that it's not going to be a Dorado. So
you wouldn't do it without a good reason.
I would think the good
You've got to
reason.
assume.
I would think the good reason here for Blank is that they have a special something or rather planned up.
Bastion, Orisa.
Well, is that special anymore? Is that new anymore? Because actually Blank have done that multiple times now across 2 maps. The only time they didn't do it was onto Ilios, and you know maybe they even should have done it then, just to really set in stone where the Bastion are the team.
Something interesting happening there, though, because I do feel that people have really been sleeping a little bit on Orisa, of course, with the recent change. The projectile speed is actually quite significant, and part of what you saw on King's Row, where it was working well with the Bastion, is you actually get to lay out so much spam damage. You also, using that right click, can displace enemies, pull them into your shots that you can throw out in advance with those projectiles. Now that they move a lot faster, it's a lot easier to do that, and you've got the hit scan Bastion doing it too. If you can catch someone in, odds are you'll kill them pretty quickly.
And that's exactly what happened on King's Row, right? Because you had a moment where it's the Halt is kind of like a mini Graviton Surge, and when Hu actually used Graviton Surge, Bastion and Eat Up playing the Bastion did so much work, whether that's in configuration tank, or just with the Sentry mode, whatever it was work. But now you got to think Blank, maybe go back to the roots a little bit, go back to Eat Up on the Tracer, something you know he's going to be good at. And of course, Huss now bringing out the Sombra, so this is Huss kind of extending out his hero pool a bit, and we do know he plays a Sombra.
Blank are going to be defending first as well. That means AHQ with their own Sombra going to be running it into Huss's Sombra. We'll have to see how well they can hold out here, because they really want to set a good defense.
Spotting out some of the early members from the Blank side. This is a nice quick wrap-around, but Blank just got to be careful not to die.
Yeah, went in maybe a little too far and doesn't actually have a health pack to pull back to, is now AHQ only just getting rapid back in the fight, have lost some key members. They do at least pick Huss, which will stall up that EMP economy, but it's still AHQ very much losing the fight.
And the problem there is you don't really play to Dizzy's strengths. Dizzy's playing a soldier here. He might actually go down if he's not careful. In fact, Ida might go down if he's not careful.
Able to get out.
The problem with AHQ's attack was they pushed through mines very aggressively. Where is Dizzy? Because mind you, Dizzy's still swapping up with Hanzo, still trying to catch up. He's not getting any damage done as a soldier in the mines.
The thing is, you're relying on going in so quickly, you take them by surprise and get a quick pick to make a numbers advantage. That's risky. Now with that EMP coming up for Huss, do need to make sure he stays alive, though.
That's the thing, right? Because somebody gets a quick pick, and in that case, it was Blank getting a quick pick and HQ and a quick EMP as well.
Eat You Up was too low as well to do anything for that brief moment. Makes it a little harder to convert, but they do at least get Hihi's mech and Crappy. Got the Primal Rage out of Eric, but they're still getting these closeouts. Gary's nice hack. They get a couple back on Blank, who don't actually close out that last one on Eric or the one on Rapid either. Hihi's going to be able to remech, and Huru's the one kind of holding down the point. They get to reinforce those, so Blank with these ultimates should still be able to stabilize.
And that's the thing, if AHU can tap back into their successes on King's Row A, if they get in very quickly here, they reinforce before Blank do. Blank, as you sort of said here, do have the ultimate advantage, but AHU with one good EMP can shut down the whole lot.
Exactly, that's the big one, right? Respect the EMP. That's the self-destruct out. Catches Dizzy up on the high ground, and Chill running the ultimate as well. They need to convert a little bit more, but there's the EMP in from Carries. They're not getting anything out of it. Didn't catch Gunba, who's able to safely use the Transcendence, and now the rest of Blank getting aggressive, trying to get the route. Need to close out on Eric this time around. Unfortunately, doesn't look like that'll quite be a possibility, but still, it is the hold. It is less time for AHQ. 2
minutes remaining now and even counting down for AHQ. The good news for them that they can take advantage of is the cart is most of the way around. It's definitely more than 50% of the way around now, so that opens up a lot of different attack angles. You really want to set Dizzy up somewhere nice as well, so he can really get advantage on the tactical visor. That's their window of victory right here.
They've got the ultimates as well. They've got some just useful things. Good EMP, but Eat You Up going down. But there we go. Trade back instantly onto Rapid, and all these close out. That is a pro Winston. He as well going down. They can't use those ultimates to preserve the lives or the mechs. But even then, probably wouldn't want to use... Rest in pepperonis, Winston.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to use the EMP there anyway, but Blank, the self-destruct rather, but Blank going to be getting one of their own now, going to be getting some other ultimates up before long.
And this is going to have to be the big push from AHU. They've saved up for a very long time. They've changed a couple of players, carried notably from the Sombra onto the Zenyatta in that last fight. Now with the final minute, this has to be the successful push or not at all. If they don't get it here, it's going to be a full hold.
Pulse Bomb does go wide from Rapid. trying to get aggressive onto Trill, who's got that Discord orb on him, but Huss with the CMP could be all they need. They commit it out. Haven't really got much off this tactical visor yet. Dizzy has to pull back. Kera's both low. Dizzy as well. Huss is the one who gets the mech out of He and AHQ initially beaten back. Ultimates is still there from Blank. Gonna have to commit the Primal Rage now. They do lose Eat You Up. AHQ haven't lost too many members though, and they get those closer respawns as well, but Trill, good one onto Keras, and with Eric low, they can't quite unlock Dizzy just yet. Still not really getting distance on the payload. If Blank can just keep this hold out, keep getting these kills through, they may just put AHQ in a situation where they can't really get it over the line. Self-destruct now out from He. They do get Huss, but they need a lot more than that. Transcendence from Gunbuff. Oh. Great pulse bomb onto 2, and Keras has his own Transcendence, but he's only just getting back in the fight, and there's no one left to save. They're all dead by Eat You Up's hand. He has to commit it just to keep He and Rapid in the fight. Rapid, he doesn't get anything with his own pulse bomb. Keras does get good headshots on Eat You Up, but the members of Blank are still here, still ready to fight, about to get another round of ultimates up as well. AHQ, no time left, still on the back foot and just not getting any kills. Blank looking to first hold them. Someone else did it to them on Dorado, and Blank are here to prove that AHQ just can't get wins on Escort.
Time's out now, AHQ. They're gonna have to lick their wounds and potentially, not even get this hold themselves. Blank. They know what their objective is. They know exactly how they can win this now. And for AHQ, this is looking like the game is nearly done. 2-1 is the scoreline, by the way, so far in the series. This is a potential 3-1, and Blank, they're set to actually take it.
And it doesn't matter for Blank what the scoreline is. They only need to win. That's all that matters here. They only need to win to make playoffs. And the same is true for AHQ, who are now about as back-footed as you can be. And with that little distance on the payload, you got the rescue win on Hanamura to keep it alive. And I have seen crazier things on Route 66. I've seen teams hold the payload further forward than where you see that marker on your screens now, but it is a tough ask no matter how you slice it. It's definitely down but not out, but it's only hanging on by a thread.
The only way AHQ can win this now is if they tap back into what was successful on Hanamura. You talk about an A hold, it has to be, again, the A hold. You look at what was working on Hanamura, that was, what, 40%, if even that, just barely over a third. If they can do that, if AHQ can do that, that's how they're going to win. But otherwise, not going to be the case, and a little bit of a pause coming in.
Oh boy.
Just give both the teams a little bit of thinking space, and AHQ need it.
Yeah, won't be for thinking space, it will be for technical issues of some variety, but...
Well, they get the thinking space.
Yeah, they get the thing.
Of the technical issues.
Yeah. It's like you kick your computer so that you get some time to think. No, it won't be anything like that, but hopefully we should be able to get these issues resolved, and it does look to be an issue on the AHQ side of things, just judging by the fact that there is no one there to look at any Blank PCs. And you can see Blank on your screens there. They're feeling good. They know how close this is for them. Okay. They know how it's right there in front of them. That's what it is. That's what they know. I couldn't think of how to phrase it.
And the thing is, they can taste the victory, right? They can smell that victory right now. And unfortunately for AHQ,
they can see it. They can hear it. They can reach out and touch
senses.
All the senses.
And if this was Sixth Sense, the victory would be Bruce Willis, and they can see him too.
They can Bruce Willis it.
That's the thing for AHQ. That's the thing for AHQ, unfortunately, is
they aren't Bruce Willis. Maybe if you had a team of 6 Bruce Willises, you wouldn't be in this position. You've got nothing good to say.
I was gonna say, like, maybe if Bruce Willis played really good at Overwatch, but I just don't know. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that because no one knows except for Bruce Willis.
Can someone please tweet at Bruce Willis?
How good?
Find out whether or not he plays. Someone tweet at Bruce Willis asking him what his SR is. I feel like Bruce Willis is gonna come back and he's gonna be like Masters or something.
But the thing about AHQ here is, you can sort of see it on their faces. They know defeat is somewhat imminent here, and that's why morale has to be the talking point for this team. And it was brought up against Hong Kong Attitude, and Hong Kong Attitude came out the other side. And look, Hong Kong Attitude have been in very dire situations. Sometimes they have just unfortunately cracked to it. Sometimes, though, they do come out on top. And that's how they manage that reverse sweep. Now, is it impossible for AHQ to get a reverse sweep of their own? Certainly not impossible. But if anything's going to happen, This is now the final place it can happen. This is playoffs life on the line, tournament life on the line. This could just be the last time we see AHQ for this year.
What you got to realize as well is for AHQ, they now know how Hong Kong Attitude felt against them yesterday. Just barely pulling it out to go 2 for 2, and then still actually losing anyway. AHQ, they would need to tie it up 2 for 2 and then do better than what Hong Kong Attitude did against them yesterday. They need to somehow make this happen. They look focused enough, but you've got to note the comparison to Blank. It's not that AHQ look crushed, but they look somber. They know how close this is and how close they are to falling short of the mark. Whereas on the other side, Blank know how close they are to getting it over the line. The disparity is all there in the scoreline as it stands and how little distance is on that payload. But you've got to go back to Blank being the ones who knocked AHQ out of playoffs last season. And at least that time around, AHQ had made playoffs. This time, it could just be that AHQ, second wind or no, just don't make it in by the hand of that same team.
And you've really got to look at the, all of the teams in OPC Season 2, and when you're looking at it, the fact that there are 3 of them tied up, with Hong Kong Attitude kind of resolving that tie somewhat with their victory over Machi, but point is, there's so many teams that you would like to see in the playoffs, despite the fact that you're allowed 1 extra team in the playoffs this season, as opposed to 3, you get 4. You actually even wish there were maybe 5, because you kind of feel all 5 of them deserve it. All 5 of them look good enough that it would be very competitive, but unfortunately, only 4 can make it, and one of these 2 teams have to bow out.
And that's what would be so heartbreaking about it for AHQ. Sure, you got knocked out of playoffs last time by Blank, but at least you ended the regular season at 3rd place. You got knocked out and finished the finals, playoffs in 3rd place. This time around, a 5th place finish means that not only does that same team knock you out of your shot at playoffs, you got displaced by 2 other teams as well. Hong Kong Attitude, who would have done it to you in Season 1 if it weren't for how many other wins you'd been able to receive, and Ardiant, who were the new entrants to the tournament that have beaten everyone. This would be absolute heartbreak for AHQ because they have kept up. At some junctures, they've even been ahead of some teams like Hong Kong Attitude and Blank and even Flash Wolves, but it just may not have been enough to get them over the line.
If you're HQ right now, you might be wanting to bargain for an alternate victory condition. Just have a 1v1, carries against EatUp, and then AHQ can go to playoffs.
Maybe that's got to be it. Maybe that is it. Maybe, or maybe you do play that Hearthstone game that you've been promising Blank this whole time. I don't know.
I know Huss plays a lot. Like I see him in a Hearthstone in game all the time. So
oh, there you go.
I don't know if he's good or not, but I know he's in it. I know he's in it.
You've never looked, like you've never checked. Turns out
Huss in game Hearthstone. That's all I know.
Turns out he only plays Arena. That would be heartbreaking. AHQ was like, how about we just do a Hearthstone game? And Blank like, yeah, sure, Huss, you can do it.
So I think there may be an issue with his computer there. So the issue is probably something wrong with game, not letting me get kills. So if it does get fixed, this is when AHQ come back and he kills everyone.
Yeah, currently we're 1-2 down, ref. That doesn't seem right. Is that right? Are we not going to make playoffs? Hold on. But I mean, that's the real thing that's being faced here. And what that would actually mean is, in a particular sense of the word, there would only be, of the 4 teams in playoff, only 1 local representative. Hong Kong Attitude themselves do have a lot of members from Taiwan, but they are, strictly speaking, from Hong Kong, and also have a lot of members from Hong Kong as well. So you'd be in this situation where truly Flash Wolves are your only kind of hometown hope there. And that is the team that won Season 1, so that's a pretty good hope to have, but certainly for the local view as well, pause resolved, and now it all comes down to this.
I'll tell you what, if nothing else, if Blank do make it through, the diversity for playoffs is certainly there. You've got 4 teams representing 4 different countries, and that's something to look forward to, but we're not quite there just yet. We may not even be there if AHQ can pull off this miraculous hold. Look, we've already seen them do it, and even more so on a map like Hanamura. We're not on Hanamura anymore, but they need to do the same anyway.
We're not in Kansas anymore. I know, we may be. Where's Route 66? I think this is
It
in
stretches
Colorado.
it stretches all over the US though. So that's
Yeah,
the
but
problem.
like
So you don't know
this
exactly.
particular part, it looks suspiciously Colorado-esque. Like kind of a Monument Valley thing going on
Looks
here.
Arizona-esque.
Maybe. Something that kind of area. In any case, never mind all that. Never mind the geographic location. How about we mind the fact that Blank 2-1 up only have to get the payload 67.28 meters. AHQ marathon task ahead. Can they do it?
Well, Blank have done it, so it's possible. Somebody has done it before you, and that says it's doable for someone else as well. But AHQ, they got to get the work done, and they need a good start here. Snowball mechanics will certainly help AHQ. Might even help Blank as well if they do it themselves.
I like that spray from Dizzy. It was almost like a picture of your family. Like, if I don't make it, tell my wife I love them. Only it wasn't their wife, it was Winston and a scientist. But eat you up the first casualty of the fight. AHQ need more kills like that to make this happen for them. But for now, Blank are just going to pull back for a moment, lick their wounds, get ready for the big fight.
And they certainly do need more kills like that, because if you remember AHQ's first attack, they lost a lot more members. Blank cleaned them up a lot cleaner. They got so many more kills, and AHQ, they certainly have to repeat that and then some.
The crucial thing being there, and then some. EMP is up though, and we know how great Carries is with that EMP economy. It's that triple tank again, which makes it easy to charge it up. And here he goes in, looking for it. They need to get good conversion. They lose. He's back. Eric's dead. The EMP's come in, but it might have just been a touch too late. He and Rapid have to convert along with Dizzy. They do get Trill, but they've lost He. They're about to lose Crappy if they're not careful. Huss, Dragonblade out. This is where he can count. Gets Carries, who was invisible. Looks to close out on Dizzy as well. Dizzy can heal all he likes, but it's the closeout, and Huss pulling it through when it counts. My goodness, is that going to be it? AHQ had to barrel back to this one.
This is it. This is the final moments. Now, Eric is trying to get in position, but the
He's gotta go.
there. He's got to jump right now. He might just die.
He's got to go. He's going for it, and he's got to, but he dies mid-jump, like you said. They get He on as well, but no self-destruct, no stall tools, no hopes, no dreams, no teammates to back him up, and who closes out on Rapid there. It's just these last few members of Blank have all the tools and all the distance and all the glory too, and they are going to stop AHQ just shy of that playoffs.
A heartbreaking situation for AHQ, but celebratory victory now for the Blank Esports guys, and well deserved as well. A 3-1 victory over AHQ, repeating now their successes against AHQ in Season 1 playoffs. Now they will be moving on to that top 4. Welcome, Blank.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. They do move into that top 4, but they do it in 4th place, which does mean they do have to come up against Ardiant. Arguably the harder challenge between the two being Ardiant and Flash Wolves. But for now, never mind all that. Take the handshake, enjoy the victory. You have earned it, Blank Esports. You have made it back into playoffs.
And the thought of collecting those handshakes, Blank have been waiting for this moment for some time now, and it's been such a difficult ride. I mean, you look at a team like Blank, it hasn't been an easy season for them, and it doesn't get easier either. You've just already said it. They got to go up against Ardiant in the playoffs. It's like you just got yourself over a bit of a hill, and now a mountain awaits you.
Kind of does feel like that. But the one thing they do have is, so far, they have given Ardiant their most competitive performance. And they've been able to overcome AHQ once again when it counts. But you've got to go back to the other side of that. It is heartbreak now for AHQ at 7-7 with that final loss to Blank, who have stuck around the middle of the pack all season. AHQ got off to a rockier start, but had a much more resurgent finish. Blank's second win has come a lot later, only really arriving yesterday against Ardiant. And just maybe that second win will be enough to propel them through the playoffs themselves. It has got them there. It has got them into it. The boat sailed faster than AHQ's, but again, AHQ now going from the 3rd place season finish and the 3rd place playoffs finish in Season 1 to not even making playoffs in Season 2. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
There's still yet more to fall, unfortunately. They're not done just yet. 4 teams now remain in that top 4, and it's got to make a cut down to 2 and then eventually to 1. So only one can stand, and we're not even finished with the regular season yet either. Before we move on any further, let's take a look at the replays of Route 66. This is that opening engagement. Note how far behind Dizzy is. So 5 members of AHQ are diving in here. Still no Dizzy. This is a 5 versus 6. You don't find any of those opening pickups. Dizzy now looking to positioning around the side, pushing that cart by himself. Only now is he able to input some damage, and as one of the key DPS players, to not have influenced that fight whatsoever is one of the key factors that AHQ did lose.
And the thing is, like, okay, sure, good on him, he got that payload distance, but look, that's the kind of distance you get anyway before the defenders even go in for their first defense. It was a gambit. It was a gambit out of AHQ. They wanted to charge in with those 5 members, be in so quickly, get enough damage on someone, you know, maybe Huss, maybe eat you up, someone squishy, knock someone out of the fight, then be able to pull back successfully and start to round that bend with a numbers advantage. That was the plan, right? But it completely failed. And the utter failure of it just kind of sent them spinning out from that point on. Huss, even dying in that fight, was able to come back and still get an EMP in time for the next one. So the 1 kill they did get didn't even help them.
And this is where AHQ got to bite the bullet, right, and say, look, we're not getting that early pickup. We just have to fall back. We're missing one of our key DPSs here. We don't have damage. I mean, a lot of the damage is gone. Let's take a look at the next free play now when they do have a much better push. Cart's made its way around. Dizzy in a much better spot, but still just unable to find the pickups. He's kind of split off from the rest of his team.
And that's the thing is, honestly, Blank did a good job of running AHQ around here. Dizzy wants to be set up in one place, but Blank, because AHQ are diving onto them, they're all kind of fighting out of Dizzy's sightlines. They get him set up, but they can't get anything with his tactical visor. Then he got pressured into the cave. Now they kind of back out into the mix, but they just can't get anything done. They're consistently too split up to maximize Dizzy or indeed any of these members. And then they start just losing crucial members. Another EMP came out, a great placement on the self-destruct, just split off AHQ, the last few members that could really contest the fight where it stood. And from this point on, AHQ just kind of exhausted. They never had good positioning at any particular moment in the fight. They never had an opportunity to reset up after losing the good positioning, and the pulse bomb from Eat You Up was icing on the cake. Maybe AHQ could have rescued it had that not come through. Maybe Blank would have still found a way to close it out, but it says a lot that just that one pulse bomb was all it took for Blank to close that one out.
And it's a hard place for AHQ to be in. Play too aggressively and you can't stop Dizzy properly. Play too defensively. The EMP from Huss will break you apart as well. So no easy solution there from AHQ, and unfortunately they had to just find their picks where they could, but they never got themselves into an advantage. And you have to go back to that initial fight because that opening gambit seriously set in motion the events that time had.
And you see there as well, the payload actually wasn't where it had its maximum distance. So what really happened is AHQ did, they got the payload up to where they had it at the end of the opening skirmish, which they lost. They got one good bit of movement on the payload, but that was still a lost fight. And from there, the payload didn't move any further. And it was just fight loss after fight loss after fight loss.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, AHQ, a lot riding into that. You can definitely feel the pressure going onto them, even defensively as well. We haven't even, you know, gone into a replay section of them defensively, but I mean, is there even much to say about that? Because that was a space where, for AHQ, they almost knew it was over.
And you've got to touch on something really key here. This is now the same series record with the exact same maps being won by the exact same teams as the last time these teams met. Last time these teams met, though, it was Blanket, really the level they've been at for most of this tournament, bar a little bit of a boost now towards the end, and AHQ kind of still in a post-Season 1 slump. This AHQ that they've beaten just now is the AHQ that beat Flash Wolves. It's the AHQ that beat Hong Kong Attitude yesterday. It's the AHQ that came close to picking up Matt Wims off Ardian. And it's just Blank being that little bit better. Now here is that AHQ defense.
Yeah, this is a very difficult one, and you know, it's not a bad start because you have carries with the EMP. This is where they kind of go wrong though. Note that AHQ are ready to go in here, just waiting for the EMP. Carries is trying to wrap around the side. He's in a little bit too late. 2 members already down. The mech goes down. That's one of the members, essentially. And by the time the EMP's in, it's just too late. You just missed the timing of the EMP. The setup was all wrong for a team that you got to compliment with a good setup earlier on. Mind you as well, Huss got that kill onto an invisible carries, which was super impressive. For a player where you really had to kind of criticize his Genji Dragonol usage, that was pretty good.
Yeah, well, what even happened as well is he actually got a headshot on pilot form Hehe, then that kill on the invisible carries, and was able to close out Dizzy as well, which meant they couldn't even get some kind of rescue picks in from the Hog, which maybe could have helped save something when that pylon eventually came on for the last-ditch defense from AHQ. So, yeah, you can criticize Huss all you like, but he pulled it through there when it mattered. It still wasn't, you know, the Nuns level 3K, 4K, 5K Dragon Blade, but it was enough. It was more than enough.
Yeah, I gotta say it's definitely the distance was there for Blank, and off of one push, by the way, that was still Blank's first attempt. It's not even like Blank had to reset multiple times, and with that as well, Huss picking up the player of the game onto the Orisa. This is for the King's Row play. He had some great plays individually on the Orisa, just kind of keeping his team intact. I mean, this is when Huss is more of in a support space, because Orisa is a tank, but it's not a very aggressive diving tank. For example, like a Winston, you're playing a more passive role, you're playing a more support role, dropping the supercharges. He protected the supercharges well, and all of the supercharges got a lot of mileage. That was half because of his good usage, and half because of the fact that AHQ didn't really respond.
And there's the spam damage as well, and that's why they married it up with the Bastion. You get that spam damage with those projectiles. They now move faster. There has been that little bit of Orisa buff in there, and that was a part of it. But with the hit scan, it just creates so much damage. And the thing that was really making it count for Huss as well was that he was getting catches with that halt. Had he not, actually, AHQ probably could have avoided the sightlines until they were ready to fight, but Huss constantly landing that displacement meant AHQ never got to wait until they were ready. They had to keep fighting on Blank's terms, and Blank's terms were, here is all our damage spammed right at you, it'll kill you in an instant, and there's nothing you can do to avoid it. They all came down to Huss.
And you're going to question AHQ once again for, you know, the kind of minor misplays there. Rip tires by rapid targeting Trill, not targeting Huss or the supercharger, of which both were together, so you might have gotten 2 for 1 there if you're lucky, or if you're just well timed, as well as, you know, pulse bombs had to be chosen as well. Do you go for Bastion? Do you go for Eat Up? Do you go for Huss? What do you go for? A lot of interesting different things to consider, but let's head now and get a couple of thoughts from both Huss and Serenity.
Say hi to our fans. 好，在我们身旁呢，还有我们的翻译 Jason 以及我们的赛评课本。First of all, congratulations, you guys got a ticket to playoff. How do you feel right now?
Oh, it feels good. It's like a lot of weight's been lifted off my shoulders, and just focusing on the next games.
就是进季后赛的话，他心情非常愉悦，现在就可以专心于对于下一场的比赛。
好，我想问一下，今天表现非常出色的哈斯选手，今天在第一张地图以伊欧斯以及第4张地图66公路的这个原始的拔刀啊，非常的出色，这个也一扫之前的一个阴霾。那我想在近期哈斯选手有没有针对这支角色来进行增强，或者是训练时间有没有来做一个延长？
Previously, when you played Genji, especially when you used your ulti, your blade, you didn't perform very well. But today on Ilios and on Route 66, you performed superbly with your blade. And is there something that you changed recently? Like did you change the way you think, or change the way you use your blade?
Well, my weakest point on Genji has usually been my Dragon Blades. Like outside of that, I play, I think, a pretty good Genji. So just going into this game and like future games, I've been working on that, and it seems to be showing off. So it's good.
他最近就是他一直都认为说他自己原式的普通操作的话是非常出色的，只是每次遇到说拔刀的话都会让自己跟大家失望，所以他最近就是对于拔刀的一些想法、一些套路的话，就有一些思考，然后今天就真的有成效，
还是有做出了一些修正。那近期的赛事当中，哈斯选手拿出非常多元的角色，像欧瑞莎、士兵76，然后闪光。 他也都拿出来，那有没有想要？就是我想请他跟大家分享一下，就是他最强的角色是哪一支？他心目中认为。
In the duration of the entire normal season, regular season, you played a lot of heroes. You played Sombra, you played Widow, you played Genji, Soldier, Tracer. You just played a myriad of heroes, and he's wondering, is there one hero that you're confident that you're the best at?
I don't know about that. I'd say I'm more of a jack of all trades, master of none at the moment. But I mean, back in the day when I used to play a lot of Tracer, I'd say that was my most powerful hero.
他现在就是他所有的角色都玩得上手，但是他选不出来说他最厉害的一个角色是谁，因为他在加入这个队伍之前，他以前是担任闪光的选手，但是现在加入我们的队伍之后。 有别人代替闪光水手，他现在又回去就是不算精通，但是可以玩得上手很多英雄，让我们有更多的变化。
但是我近期看起来他的这个多元的一个角色发挥，真的都是非常厉害啊。 那还有个问题就是这个在今天第2张地图国王大道，它是选择了 OSR 这支角色，这支角色通常是非常难使用的。那今天他多次挡下 AHQ 前排坦克的一个攻击，包括莱因哈特、地猎级跟冲锋。那我想请他跟大家分享一下这支角色到底要怎么操作，然后有他一些使用的心得。
Even though you say that your Jaguar traits are busting none, but you've demonstrated that you are very superb in a lot of different heroes. Especially today on King's Row when you pull Orisa, which is a hero that's not very widely picked. You've made a lot of clutch plays. For example, you blocked a lot of Ryan's charges, especially, for example, on the first fight when Ryan was down, so you blocked that charge. And other times when Ryan tried to make a play, you and Chu were able to become very steady bulwark for our team and allowed numerous plays. Is there anything that you want to share about Orisa in regards to playing this hero?
Don't pick it in ranks, please.
请不要在积分的时候选择 Orisa。
OK， 有没有什么想要使用一些角色可以配合这支角色来做一个搭配的？像扎利亚这个部分，是不是一定要选择扎利亚，或是选择迪巴也可以？
If Orisa was a mandatory component of the team, what other heroes would you pick to complement this hero to work synergy?
Actually, don't know. Maybe like some shield busting heroes, or heroes that aren't really mobile. And you can just make use of the Orisa shield and deploy it around the place. Yeah.
他是认为说需要采取一个比较就是可以破对方盾牌的一个阵型，或者是就是选一个就是机动性比较不强的一些平退阵，这样子对欧蕾莎的发挥最好。
好，最后我要恭喜，就是 Blank 已经顺利进入到季后赛。
是。
那在最后面的这一个训练时间会不会增长？又或者是他会针对特定的角色来进行一个训练
？He'd like to congratulate Blank for making it to playoffs. With the playoffs coming up, is there anything different that we're changing? Anything that we're doing in terms of practice? Like, are we practicing more? Are we changing anything up?
Well, it kind of sucks that we're still on patch 1.14 because there's so much more diversity and like different hero comps on the new patch. But I mean, we still have some like pretty wacky stuff that we can pull out. That's up to Ardian to uncover and practice for.
他是表示现在比赛没有在新版的这个游戏更新上面觉得遗憾，因为在新版的话会有一些不同的英雄，然后就有很多不同的花样可以用，然后就比较精彩，
比较适合他个人。他角色真的是太多元了。
对啊，但是对于季后赛的准备的话，我们也有一些对于阿里勇的一些准备，然后就是要看到季后赛的时候让他们惊喜了。
好的，谢谢。
谢谢，再次恭喜我们的 Blank 也进入到了下个礼拜的季后赛，也谢谢他选手接受我们的
maybe on the
赛
new
后访问。
patch, Hus would even be better with the wider hero pick potential and the wider hero pools. But that is the interview from Hus as well. A couple final thoughts from him before Blank move on to playoffs next week.
And of course, congratulations to Blank. But what that does mean on the flip side of that, AHQ went from being in that three-way tie, but technically at the top of it in third place, to now dropping down to fifth and not making playoffs. But we are only halfway through the final night of play.
And now 2 more matches remain. Limited Supreme and Mega coming up next, and then finishing off the evening with Ardian and Flashwolves. So still some really important matches yet to come. Are Limited Supreme finally going to get their match win against Mega? Will Ardian continue their dominating run through OPC Season 2? All those questions and more will be answered when we return after this break.